The Overstrand Local Municipality in South Africa has been an overall winner in the Best Municipality category, which recognizes a municipality that demonstrates commitment to citizen-centeredness, service delivery excellence, and good governance principles. The municipal area of Overstrand covers a surface of almost 1,708 square kilometers and has a permanent population of 90,000. Presented in collaboration with Business Engineering, this Future Cities Africa episode is with Executive Mayor Annelie Rabie. We discuss Overstrand Local Municipality's commitment to social equity, environmental sustainability, and economic prosperity. From innovative technological advancements and digitization strategies to fostering private sector collaboration and ensuring resilient supply chains, we explore how the municipality is positioning itself for success in the face of challenges and opportunities. Mayor Rabie, welcome. It's lovely to have you on the show. Could you share some specific strategies or initiatives that your administration has implemented to ensure that all members of the community are included and benefit from the municipality's projects?
Thank you very much for that question, Dan. The important thing is that Overstrand Municipality has a very strong focus on citizen-centeredness. I personally am a very strong believer that I want my voice heard. And because I want my voice heard, I believe other people would like to have their voices heard. So in that context, we work very hard to ensure that we have enough public participation sessions, that we have enough public meetings on a variety of issues. For example, if somebody is unhappy about the way in which we manage the baboon management program, then we will say, let's have a meeting with the community and hear from them what it is that they want to hear. I, as the mayor, also have a very strong view that officials must not govern. We govern in collaboration with them. And therefore, when I am told technical information on a matter, I will hear what the officials say, but 99.9%, I will also validate that against a public participation process. And in that way, we, in the first year of us being in office from December 2021 till the end of December 2022, we issued a whopping 749 press releases of various kinds in order to ensure that the community is involved. What I've also done is that since we've took office is to create ward-specific WhatsApp groups where only myself and the relevant ward councillor can post municipal-specific matters. It is not an interactive communication tool because we don't want to hear good night and good morning. And what I am further working on very strongly is to ensure that people accept our communication under my or the MM signature as the official communication on a matter and not leave it open for various interpretations on a variety of platforms. So I believe within that context that we've proven ourselves to be a very open administration. The fact that I have a march this morning on the high municipal bills, I actually appreciate that people would walk peacefully and exercise their right to come to us and to express further opinions. So I believe that one of the reasons why we actually won that award is because of our responsiveness and our availability. Having said that, there will always be people that believe that we're not getting something right. If there is, for example, a stormwater crisis after a storm, then people say your service isn't good enough. And that is for us to mitigate and to deal with.
The municipality recently launched technology to improve performance management and enhance service delivery. Can you explain how this technology works? What prompted the municipality to look into implementing this? And what has the progress been to date? Have you seen any benefits?
Dan, I am a very strong believer that I need to measure in order to manage. One of the issues I found when I became the mayor is that I don't have any baseline information on what the quality and what the status of all our various networks are. I also couldn't tell you how much money I am generating from various parts of my town. We've got 14 different wards and therefore little towns that we represent. I had no baseline information on which to manage myself and to see whether we're going forward. What I did do was to have a poll, an internal poll, to ask, are we getting it right? If we're not getting it right, what should we do? And part of the outcome of that conversation was the fact that we don't have a good citizen app in terms of which we could allow the community to link into us, on a technology basis, rather than having to call the control room. And so far, we started and developed our Collaborator Citizen app. It didn't run very smoothly in the beginning. The development was hindered by a lack of stability issues, and there were a range of matters that we had to deal with. So we didn't go live immediately. And if I say live, I want to say that we actually sneaked it into the market and got a few residents to respond to that and react to that. And in that way, we could test our program. Therefore, whilst we started it last year already in around August last year, we only formally launched it in July of this year. But what that has done is, for example, from January to March this year, I got 180 responses on Collaborator, and our turnaround time is around 30 days. Yet, we could determine that when it is a non-strategic matter or a non-policy matter, only an operational matter, that we in many instances responded to it within a 48-hour turnaround time, which I think is brilliant. What we've also done is to add a business sector specific element to that app. I am not 100% happy that it is running as it should, and therefore the MM and I have agreed to meet with our business chamber to get them to use that platform more for themselves. What is important from this is that if I monthly get an indication now of how many service requests we've had, how many could we deal with, how many are outstanding. And I must say that is guiding us now that we're busy with the design of our new organizational structure. It is giving me the opportunity to determine what is the extent of services that are needed. If I may give you one example. In Kleinmond, Betty's Bay area, we've last year, 2022, had 140 new home plans approved. But I did not increase the tanker services, and I have not increased the number of staff in the building department. Now, obviously, if I don't do that, I'm going to have serious service delivery backlogs down the line. And so with this information and this platform, we are able to better plan and to have our budget influenced and informed by what is actually happening on the ground. I think what is quite important is by having the Collaborator app, we're also freeing up quite a lot of resources where people will literally sit on the telephone day and night. An example is during the last storm that we had about a month and a half ago, we had 1,007 requests for tanker services just in 2 wards of my municipality. Now, imagine if all of that had to come through a telephone system where we have challenges when it is load shedding. It's an impossibility. So a lot of that actually went through the Collaborator app, and that just helped us to service the area better and quicker.
Mayor, please can you summarize the municipality's digitization or digital transformation strategy in the short and in the long term?
We are quite fortunate that we designed our digitization policy and where we want to go with it in support and in collaboration with the Western Cape government's drive on digitization. And we were allocated, I think it's 200,000 Rand that we were allocated, and I could take that up in my adjustment budget in January of this year. And what that effectively wants to do is that we can now rework our strategy and our plan, because we were a little bit off center. And what it now means is that with other municipalities joining in, we are able to be cutting edge, hopefully. We'll be cutting edge in collaboration with other municipalities, where we also want to interact with and be on an interactive platform with them. Because as you are aware, Overstrand is a holiday destination where many people that live in Cape Town or in Stellenbosch or in other towns of the Western Cape come here, and they are, we've got a huge semigration population, a holiday population, many people from other parts of the country that come here for holidays, and then they want to share in the benefits, which we didn't really have just a year ago. So at least we are up and running on that, and we are now working on the implementation of phase 1. And if you will allow me just to tell you what phase 1 is all about, it is to redesign the content, the look and the feel of our website. Our website was so difficult to navigate. And not everybody was born in the technology age. So people really had a battle to get from one area to the other on our website. So that at least has started to be sorted out. I think it's a much more user-friendly website. Not perfect, not 100% there, but as part of the continual growth. And then, of course, to design a web page now where job seekers can add their names. Remember, most of us have so-called EPWP or unemployment databases, and it just sounds so harsh, unemployment database. So we've changed that to a job seekers database, and it is really being used by lots of younger people, and especially school leavers. Then we also have designed, as part of that service, a better web page and a better service where people that want to engage our building control processes can now do so digitally, and they don't have to physically come into the municipality. But then I have to say to you that part of the challenge of digitization is that many people that I need to access, for example, with their municipal accounts, and in light of the fact that the South African post office is really, really failing us, and we can't have our accounts delivered by mail anymore, many of my citizens don't have smartphones. They can't receive their accounts on WhatsApp. They don't have internet. They don't have laptops. They don't have money for data. And so in order to bridge that gap, what we've now done is to, in all our libraries, people have free access to the internet where they can do a variety of things. And we are in the process of establishing hotspots in all our community halls, which obviously is closer to the community than what some of the libraries are. And what I've also done is to have 2 EPWP workers walking door to door in especially Zwelishle, Masakani, Eloxolweni, Overhills, to check and assist people with account inquiries, because we've given them mobile phones, and so they can communicate with us better. But that to me is a serious challenge in terms of full digitization of community services.
How is the municipality creating an enabling environment for the private sector that is mutually beneficial for the private sector and the municipality? What has been done to improve communication with the private sector?
What we have done is, since we took office, we had an excellent investment conference. And as part of that, we designed an investment policy, which we haven't had before. And as part of that investment policy, we've tried to bring in an incentive element. And with that, we have created a closer link between the officials and developers. And what we now do is if, for example, a big developer wants to invest and build a big development over and above the very controversial bulk services levies, with which I personally have a bit of a problem. I don't think that that's always fair. But those bulk levies have allowed us to do certain infrastructure upgrades within the areas where the developments will take place. But what we do is that the officials and the developers have a roundtable conversation face to face. And where we can Zoom, we Zoom, but we prefer it to be face to face so that they can understand one another and can understand what the intention of the development and the project is, as well as what are the typical blockages that a specific developer or a specific architect or a town planner has had with us. I am very, very strong on improving the ease of doing business with Overstrand. And for me and my colleague Clinton Laram, who's responsible for this portfolio, it is more than so-called red tape reduction. It is about being accessible, being available, being open for conversation, and to guide any developer in line with our spatial development framework where we require what. The one dilemma that one has with this, you can have all the most wonderful communication channels and you can have a coffee date with everyone. The issue of doing environmental impact assessments, the process of rezoning land, is a hugely problematic one. And my belief is that between municipalities as a whole and the Western Cape Department of Local Government and Environmental Affairs and Town Planning, we would need to come up with a way in which it doesn't take 2 years to rezone land, and it doesn't take 3 to 4 years to do an EIA. So again, we can do what we want. We can have all the wonderful programs and the turnaround time, but if the knock-on processes above us at the next level of government is not speedy or being sped up, then I think we will continue to have huge challenges in getting development going.
Given the increasing importance of resilient supply chains in today's economy, what specific measures is your administration taking to ensure the resilience of the city's supply chains?
Let me start off by saying we've had our 10th consecutive clean audit. And as you are aware, many a clean audit struggles in the wake of supply chain management processes. I have a CFO that is dead set. I sometimes want to say to Asante, can you just please change a little bit? But it doesn't quite work that way. We follow the SEM guidelines to the T. And I have to say to you that often supply chain is the one area that really inhibits quicker reaction to a number of activities. But what I have done, and especially my new MMC for Finance, Councillor Stephen Williams, they have now drafted a list of all the tenders that will expire in 6 months hence. And so we start much earlier with the design of the tender specs and how it should go through the system. I want to give you an example that links to one of the other questions that we've raised earlier, and to show our citizen-centric sense in this matter. I have a baboon management program, which I do on behalf of the Western Cape government. And it is a hugely problematic tender because it really conjures up lots and lots of emotions around baboon management. And it really is one of the biggest issues I have had to deal with ever since I took this office. And I then said, when the tender was a year ago, in July last year, I knew that the tender was going to run out at the end of June this year. And so a year ago, I started with a process of discussing and talking to the community in that area on how would they like that program to be and what should that program look like. Lo and behold, when I got to tender stage, I have hoped that a community-based organization will be successful in terms of the tender, and they weren't. And the simple reason for many of these things, and not this one in particular, but in general, we find that tax certificates are not in place. In many instances, the annual financial statements are not in place. So I can have the smartest, and I do have, supply chain staff. We can do it all right. But if the tenderer is not compliant with a variety of requests from departments and governments outside of the Overstrand Municipality, I just can't fast track that process. And that obviously is always a problem to me. But supply chain is, in my instance, I think it can make a good contribution to local economic development and making use of especially upcoming entrepreneurs. But at the same time, there are so many transversal tenders that municipalities tap into, especially if it is huge projects, that I believe supply chain can be much more user-friendly. I know government wants to, in terms of the MFMA, would like to use supply chain management to decrease potential for fraud and corruption. I don't think that they're hugely successful, yet the paperwork involved in getting supply chain management more user-friendly and faster is just an absolute nightmare. Having had our 10th clean audit, we certainly get the basics right. We certainly have the basics right. It doesn't mean that we don't have our issues or that there won't be a mistake or something, but it really is very, very problematic for me as the political leader of this council that some things take as much as 3 months, which I would have imagined, geez, man, it could be a week. It is a telephone call or whatever the case may be. But I have to stick to the game plan and not get involved. And then that is a key issue in this municipality. Councillors do not get involved in any tender process or in land sale processes. We have codes of conduct that prescribe to us and the officials how we should behave. And being a stickler for the rule of law and getting it right and doing the right things right, even if I stand alone, we're very strict and very strong on proper supply chain management processes.
How do you ensure effective interface between political office and administration, so to ensure clear roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities for each respective structure?
I actually enjoy that you asked me that question. Having been involved in local government for many, many years, you can see how grey I've become. I believe on horses for courses, and I believe in stick to your lane. I have every morning a coffee session with my full MACO and my MM. And there we clear whatever needs to be cleared. I, as the mayor, do not engage any of the other directors. I speak to the MM, and the MM deals with his directors. Similarly, my MMCs, members for mayoral committee, they engage their directors. And we don't cross into one another's areas or into one another's lanes. And the reason for that is, and I think it works very well, some people can get very frustrated by this, but if I want to know something, I know where to knock on which door. And everybody understands that there's one clear line for communication and not sideshows and sidelines and shortcuts. And, I know this one, or I've been working in that area for so long. There's a very definite and a very correct line that we follow. In times of emergency, like, for example, this morning, we have a march on its way to my office. Obviously, there will be conversation between myself and the law enforcement capacity, but that is driven by a specific circumstance at the time. And then remember, as I mentioned before, we are all bound by a code of conduct. And the party that I represent is extremely strict on sticking to caucus rules, sticking to the code of conduct, sticking in our lane, not interfering in the administration. At the same time, I have a municipal manager that if a councillor oversteps the line, he has no problem to inform the speaker that councillor X or Y or Z is giving direct instructions to officials. So we really stick to the game plan, and I'm very positive, and I'm very proud to say that we're a municipality that stick to the systems and the structures that are provided for in legislation.
Mayor, in closing, what is your vision for the future of the Overstrand Municipality? What does success look like at the end of your term?
Dan, obviously, when you apply to become a mayor, because that's how it works, when you apply to become a mayor, you have to convince the panel of your at least 5-year strategy for your town. And what I've done was to link my 5-year plan and objectives to that of the Premier of the Western Cape, so that I can replicate what is happening on a provincial level also on a local level. And I am very vocal about the fact that I've got 3 objectives. And the one is to improve communication. The other one is to reduce crime. Now, you can say to me, what does crime have to do with you? But crime also is within the non-compliance to municipal bylaws in relation to traffic offences and a variety of issues. And then thirdly, to improve the cost and ease of doing business with Overstrand. But overriding all of that is my mantra of an Overstrand for all. And what exactly does that mean? Overstrand has been in the news for many good things and for many not so good things. And what I'm saying is that everyone that lives in Overstrand should have access to the same quality of service. If I remove refuse once a week in Voelklip or in De Kelders or in Betty's Bay, I must also once a week remove the refuse in Zwelishle, in Overheels, in Eloxolweni. If the tanker services is run 24/7, and I render an after-hours service in the previously more advantaged communities, I must do exactly the same in the previously more disadvantaged areas. So I'm very much for the same quality of service across the Overstrand. And that has its challenges because I have many informal settlements. And therefore, one of the things that I'm doing at the moment is to try and electrify as much of the remaining informal settlements that are without electricity. Because by doing that, you are starting to build a more dignified life. Obviously, I get income out of it. It reduces illegal electricity connections and everything that goes with that. And so that is every decision I take. Every morning when I sit in Mako and I discuss where we're going, my question is always, how does this contribute to the 3 C's, as I call it? And how does it contribute to making an Overstrand for all a livable and an achievable objective?
A special thank you to Executive Mayor Annelie Rabie for this insightful conversation on the municipality's holistic approach to governance, digitization, community engagement, and forward-thinking planning for a prosperous and resilient future here on Future Cities Africa.